Coveray. Can I get a roll call, please?
Aaron Rashba,
Here.
Andrea Jordan,
Here.
Shaquille Ali is not present, Nadia Flamenco is absent, Anthony Sujisaka.
Here. All right. And then if I can get Brent, can you do the pledge for us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Item 4, approval of the agenda. Please look over the agenda, and then I need hopefully a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, we move on to communications A, board member acknowledgements and commendations, and I will start on the only direction, which is my right.
I just want to say thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and I look forward to the meeting.
So I want to say there is a lot of change happening in our country right now. And without getting into national politics here, I want to acknowledge that change can be destabilizing and anxiety provoking. And I wanted to say that I take refuge in looking locally here at our school district and noting that our values remain steadfast. And we have a commitment to educate all children, all students in welcoming, engaging, safe schools. Many years ago, Horace Mann called education the great equalizer. And I believe that public education can still serve that ideal in 2025. It's something that brings us all together at a time when we are made to feel divided in service of the all-important goal of educating the next generation. So I am proud to be part of that mission with all of you and with our district. Thank you.
What he said. I echo my fellow board trustee sentiments, and welcome back from the President's Week. All right, we move on to superintendent comments.
Yes, good evening. I want to thank you and appreciate your comments that you made. And especially welcoming, engaging, safe schools is our vision for our district. So I want to thank you for those comments. I wanted to share a couple communications I received, or one communication I received from the San Mateo County Office of Education. Deputy Superintendent of Business Services, Kevin Voltima, sent actually President Sujisaka a letter informing us that they concur with our district's positive certification of our 24-25 first interim report. And I shared the full letter with the board, but I just wanted to acknowledge in public and thank our business office and Ms. Peterson for their hard work to make sure that we received a positive certification. So thank you. Also, I want to remind families that next week in our elementary schools only, it is parent-teacher conferences on Tuesday and Wednesday. So those are minimum days on March 4th and 5th. And then also starting next week, we're going to be conducting a survey to families. Your input is really important. And so principals and school sites will be emailing a link to all families on Monday. So we just want folks to be on the lookout for that. And we encourage everyone to complete that survey because you'll see tonight that we use surveys to help guide our programs and our decision making. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. All right, we move on to communications C, persons wishing to address the board. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. We will display the 2-minute timer on the screen. If the timer ends, I will stop you if you go over. As a reminder, the board may not discuss or comment on any items not listed on this agenda or expressed during communications public comment. We want you to know that we will hear you and we'll ask our superintendent to follow up on your comments. Please make sure you leave your name and contact information with Ms. Coveray so our administration knows how to reach you. Ms. Coveray, do we have any speakers? All right, slow down there. All right, we move on to thank you, Ms. Coveray. We move on to item 6A, the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda, please? Or unless there's any community. Wow. Unless there are any pulled.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, we move on to item 6H, 2025 CSBA Delegate Assembly Election. The board will select up to 3 candidates to be considered as delegates to the CSBA Delegate Assembly.
Yes, so this item is in our area. We have 3 candidates, and there are 3 spots. And so we have Greg Land from San Mateo Union High School District. We have Andrew Lai from Jefferson Union High School District, and Francesca Segre from Menlo Park School District. And so it is your decision if you want to select all 3, or just 2 of 3, or 1 of 3, or none. But it has to be a decision as the board. And their bios and their applications were attached to the agenda item.
Thank you, Superintendent. All right, is there any comments, questions? Otherwise, we can move to a vote or a motion.
I don't have any comments. I know one of them personally. The other 2, obviously, I just read through what was provided, so I'm happy to move forward with however us as a board decide to move forward with.
Yeah, I'm comfortable moving with the election of the 3 candidates. I'm grateful for their willingness to serve, and I'm glad to see a member of our sister board in the high school district representing the group.
Excellent.
So
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Then if you agree with our statements, I'd like to motion to approve to select all 3 candidates to be considered as delegates to the CSBA Delegate Assembly.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations to our 3 candidates. All right, item 7C, Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP Mid-Year Report. Ms. Pam Scott, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, will provide the board with a mid-year report on the plan for the 2024-27 LCAP.
Thank you. I'm Josie Peterson, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, and I will be presenting tonight with Pam. So tonight, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the budget for parents and where we are in relation to the 3 goals and our budget. And then Pam will be going into more in-depth detail on the LCAP and the metrics. So here is the summary of our budget. It's really just a recap of our first interim report that we reviewed with the board in December. And it shows our adopted budget in the first column, and then where we were with our first interim at that on October 31st in the second column. There really wasn't major differences between the adopted and first interim. For revenues, it was higher by $500,000, and that was mainly due to some special education increases in revenues, some local increases, which was offset by some lower expanded learning opportunity revenues. And then on the expenditure side, there was an increase in expenditures of over $5 million, and that was really mainly due to adding in all the carryover funds that we had from our 23-24 actuals, mostly the expanded learning opportunity and other restricted programs. So very, very high-level overview of our budget and where we were at first interim. Next report will be our second interim next month. So I'm going to go through all 3 of the goals in a very summarized format, just kind of show you, I won't read the goals to you, but show you where we are with our budget at this time. So our total budget for goal 1 was just under $53 million, and we're just under $49 million right now. And it did include the following actions. The $49 million doesn't include some of the actions that we're currently still undergoing. for example, the after-school enrichment programs. So you'll see the mid-year expenditures will be higher when we close our books at the end of the year as we finish through some of these programs that are listed there in the actions. And then for goal 2, our budget was $6.5 million, and we're at about $4.8 million mid-year. But again, we are going to be having some more technology support and mostly the enrichment opportunities that continue through the year and the beginning of the summer and the EL support. And then lastly, goal 3, our budget, we're pretty close to our budget. Our budget was $7 million and we're at $6.3 million, but a lot of these services are still continuing and they are included in the budget. We will be much closer to the $7 million when we get through the year. And you can see some of the bigger actions there are, restorative practices and nursing support, mental health support. So that's a very high level overview of our budget and the 3 goals. Do I want to continue or do we take questions at the end? Okay. Then now Pam will get into more depth on the LCAP. Thank you.
All right, good evening, not morning. All right, so I'd like to take this opportunity to explore one key action for each of our 3 LCAP goals in greater depth. So for goal 1, action 1.4 focuses on delivering a guaranteed and viable curriculum aligned with the California state standards while supporting flexible learning environments through the UDL guidelines. According to John Hattie, Tier 1 instruction must be effective for at least 80% of our students before Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions are implemented. As a reminder, the multi-tiered system of support, MTSS, is a 3-tiered support system to ensure student success through progressively intensive interventions. Strong Tier 1 instruction ensures all students receive a solid educational foundation, reducing the achievement gap before targeted interventions are needed. Schools have limited resources, time, staff, and funding. So if Tier 1 isn't strong, we overwhelm the system. If more than 20% of students need additional support, it suggests that core instruction needs improvement rather than just adding more interventions. So analyzing our current iReady data, we recognize an achievement gap in Tier 1. So you'll notice in reading, we're at 39%, and in math, we're at 33%. To address this, we have a 2-fold focus, implementing a district-wide Tier 1 intervention for all students through the iReady personalized learning platform to close the gap while simultaneously training all teachers in Universal Design for Learning, UDL. A UDL-designed learning environment ensures accessibility, personalizes learning to meet diverse needs, and fosters meaningful connections within the learning community. Transforming education from a traditional teacher-centered model to a UDL-driven student-centered approach is a long-term adaptive change process, taking 3 to 5 years for instructional shifts and up to a decade for deeper cultural transformation. This evolution requires rethinking mindsets, policies, and practices to create sustainable progress. The rigid one-size-fits-all curricula are replaced with flexible designs that support student agency, allowing learners to progress at their own pace while maintaining high expectations. So time does remain a significant barrier for teachers, as planning UDL-aligned lessons requires extensive differentiation and resource curation. Collaboration is key to overcoming this challenge, allowing educators to share the workload, exchange ideas, and create inclusive student-driven learning experiences. By investing in adaptive change and collaborative design, we ensure high-quality, accessible education while sustaining teachers. Recently, teachers completed our district's 3rd professional development session, providing dedicated time for collaborative work, and they will continue meeting in teams next year to build on this effort. To illustrate the instructional shifts involved, imagine yourself back in high school English class, where the day's lesson is to read the poem Holding Grief and answer comprehension questions. In a traditional approach, all students would read the same poem, answer identical questions, and work within a fixed time frame. One simple universal design for learning adaptation would provide multiple ways for students to engage with the poem, such as listening to an audio version, reading a translated or annotated text, or exploring it through visual storytelling. Additionally, some students may struggle with the comprehension questions. A UDL-aligned strategy could involve creating a playlist of activities, allowing students to control the pace and path of their learning while still meeting learning objectives. A UDL playlist is a flexible set of learning activities that offers students choices in how they engage with content, access information, and demonstrate understanding. For example, instead of assigning the same vocabulary words to the entire class, students could self-assess and focus on the words they need to learn. Those with stronger vocabulary could move on to the next section more quickly, creating a more personalized learning experience. By shifting to a more student-driven instruction, teachers can spend more time working directly with individuals or small groups, supporting diverse learning needs more effectively. So now please welcome the Woodrow Wilson Instructional Support Team, who have been invited to share how they are collaborating to support our transition to the UDL instructional practices.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Alex Delanda, for those of you who I don't know, principal of Woodrow Wilson. And I also have a couple members of our site leadership team, specifically our instructional support team, Miss Jessica Jones, third grade teacher, and Miss Jasmine Valdivinos, our ELD teacher. I'm going to let them speak to the specifics of what the work that we've been doing and they've been doing with UDL implementation at our site. We are really proud of the work that they've been doing and we've been doing as a whole. I think it's a perfect synthesis of the district initiative of site leadership teams and subcommittees forming with data analysis teams, instructional support team, and a school culture and climate team. And with these teams, we've been able to really tackle some of the implementation, the specifics of UDL implementation in the context of a classroom. So I'm going to let our team speak about the specifics. And so.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to start off with the goals and structure and scope of our leadership team. The first intention was to remove barriers and allow equal opportunities for learning and practice of teachers. Also, we wanted to recognize the strengths and the milestones. Additionally, we wanted to develop and maintain a culture of collaboration, trust, and learning, and also support teachers with ways and methods to have sort of like a toolbox to provide them with things that we can keep practicing and keep a consistency and to promote, to promote fidelity to instruction. I'll hand it over to Jessica.
Hi, thank you for having us. So we've been working just to help implement the UDL strategies, focused on engagement, representation, action, and expression. And what we've started doing is conducting observations of teachers. And during the first observation cycle, myself and Jasmine are participating in 3 observations of each teacher. The first session was on with a specific focus on each observation. So the first one was on learning targets or objectives, how they're being used in the classroom. The second one was on ELD strategies, specifically focusing on our school's goal to support learning for academic language. And our third one, which we're just about to do, we've already met with the teachers, we just have to do the observation, is on collaboration and community. On this one, we're giving teachers more choice in this, like what they, within collaboration and community, what do they want us to focus on when we're observing their lesson. And then during these cycles, what we do is we meet with teachers during the PLCs, talk about what we're going to be focusing on for the observation, schedule the observation with them, they pick the time, so they're ready and planned for it. And then we come together as a staff to present our findings during a staff meeting. Go over just what we saw, what's being done, some interesting ideas or activities that we'd like to share. And then most importantly, teachers are given opportunities and time to discuss, reflect, collaborate, and figure out what our next steps are, like what we can do better as a staff, what we plan on using, and sort of get like, next cycle, I'm going to do this, make an action plan. And then our next cycle of observations will look a little different, and I'm gonna let Jasmine explain that, but thank you.
So the next cycle would be it would be more teacher led. We will take a step back and help with the guidelines and just specifics, like Jessica mentioned, the focal area, the focal students. And the way that we're going to do this is through a case study format. That way we have evidence and there's clear and concise information that is relevant and pertinent to the schools. And so then therefore we're really applying the UDL strategies and framework and really holding ourselves accountable. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, so like I was saying, thank you, Jessica and Jasmine. It's wonderful to see the collaboration and just the implementation of these UDL focal areas, and teachers working in a collaborative manner on the observation and feedback cycle. Yeah, so I want to just thank the site leadership team and the instructional support team. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for your insight and opportunity to get a glimpse into what you are doing to move our UDL initiative forward. All right, so for goal 2, action 2.3 focuses on district collaboration to improve student achievement through data analysis, progress monitoring, and the development of tiered interventions. District collaborative teacher teams are creating UDL-aligned units, analyzing common formative assessments, and participating in the grade level lesson study protocol to refine instructional practices. As Ms. Conti shared in her California dashboard presentation at our last board meeting, our analysis of the FastBridge data for K-2 students shows progress in math, but not in reading. To address this, we must continue to strengthen Tier 1 instruction to reinforce foundational skills for all students while monitoring targeted interventions for high-risk students. Similarly, our iReady data for students in grades 3 through 8 shows positive movement toward proficiency in both ELA and math. To sustain and accelerate this progress, we must ensure consistent use of the iReady personalized platform each week, while fostering collaboration amongst teachers to implement paradigm shifts in instructional strategies. John Hattie's statement, the best way to increase student achievement is to increase teacher collaboration, emphasizes that when teachers work together, share knowledge, and collaborate on instructional practices, student outcomes improve. One key collaborative structure supporting this shift is the lesson study protocol, which engages teachers in a continuous cycle of planning, teaching, observing, and reflecting. Through this process, teachers collaboratively refine lesson plans, implement them while observing each other's instruction, and reconvene to analyze what worked, what didn't, and how to improve future lessons. Jessica Pace has led this work with our K-2 teachers in collaboration with George Ellis from UC Berkeley. So I please welcome Jessica Pace and Sarah Fistrom from Garden Village, who will share their experiences and outcomes using the lesson study protocol.
Good evening. For the past 2 years, we have partnered with UC Berkeley's California Reading and Literature Project, CRLP results. JESD has trained all of our TK through grade 5 teachers, administrators, and special education staff in the science of reading research, the California ELA/ELD framework, instructional strategies and routines focusing on foundational reading skills, and we have learned to administer and analyze assessment results to improve reading instruction and student academic performance. This year, at our August Institute Day, TK through second grade teachers received training on instructional routines to use with teaching decodable texts. But we know that training is just one piece of professional development, and that real change comes from setting up collaborative structures and opportunities for feedback and self-reflection. To extend the learning from the CRLP Results Institute, TK through second grade teachers had the opportunity to participate in lesson study. Lesson study involves a pair of teachers who collaboratively design a lesson. One teacher delivers the lesson, while the other teacher observes and studies the lesson and the student's learning without critiquing the teaching or the teacher. They evaluate and reflect on the lesson and make any revisions and improvements. Then they switch roles. And the whole premise behind lesson study is to improve the teaching and the learning in the most appropriate context, the classroom setting. Once all of the teacher pairs have completed their lesson study, we gathered back in an after-school setting, right back here in this room, to reflect on the process and share our collective learning in this larger collaborative team. Right here, we have Sarah Fristrom, our first grade teacher from Garden Village, and she's going to be sharing with us her experience with lesson study and how it's impacted her teaching and her students.
Thank you, Jessica. So I had the privilege of participating in the CRLP lesson study recently, and when this was first introduced to me, I was very intrigued of how to incorporate my decodable readers from the Benchmark Advanced more effectively in my classroom. My grade level partner and I worked together to take the daily routine that was provided and used resources and the videos provided to make it our own. Because of the lesson study opportunity, we were able to watch each other teach. And as a second-year teacher, I can say that observations and collaborations have made a huge difference in me feeling successful in the classroom. After watching each other teach, we were given time to discuss, which was helpful to have a designated time to do this. We refined our lessons, we listened to each other's feedbacks, and we had healthy discussions. My grade level partner has been teaching for over 30 years, and I've only been teaching for 2 years, so this is really beneficial to not only see the lessons provided, but also the classroom management of sides. The next week, when I taught a CRLP lesson again, I was more confident in my teaching, and the student growth showed even more. This continues to be the case in each week. Today, I asked my students which part of the lesson they liked the most. Some said that they liked the mixed word list because it challenges them. Some said reviewing the sound cards because it's a surprise to what sound's going to come next. The majority of the students said that they liked the read, spell, read routine, which was newly introduced to me in this study. This allows them to have a second chance to read the word again if they get it wrong the first time. It's building their confidence in reading. Overall, CRLP has benefited myself as well as my students. The time provided to us for the lesson study was very valuable to my teaching. Thank you.
Thank you to Jessica and Sarah. I worked with Sarah's dad for a long time and her grandmother, so I have a special love in my heart for Sarah. It's nice to see her up here at the podium. All right, so moving on to Goal 3, Action 3.1, focuses on using the continuum of restorative practices to create an inclusive and safe school climate. Dr. Jimmy Cassis captures the distinction between school culture and climate in this quote: "School culture is shaped by what you do throughout campus, and school climate is how you feel while at school." Each year, JESD collects student feedback on school climate and culture across 4 key categories. Our most recent fall results show that learning model and school safety received higher ratings compared to sense of belonging and school climate. A deeper analysis of individual questions provides more nuanced insights into these trends. Students are asked to share their perceptions rather than their experiences on various topics using a 5-point rating scale, where the middle indicator falls within a negative range. Upon further analysis, this middle indicator could also be interpreted as neutral, offering a more balanced perspective on student perceptions. Two key metrics we use to assess school climate are behavioral referrals and suspension rates. Throughout this year, we've seen a noticeable decline in behavioral incidents, indicating that students are engaging in fewer disruptive behaviors. Suspension rates have also dropped significantly, reflecting a shift away from punitive measures and towards more restorative approaches. These improvements suggest that our efforts to foster a positive, supportive school environment are having a positive impact on student behavior and overall school climate. These positive trends are partly due to the district's consistent focus on restorative practices, which strengthen relationships, promote accountability, and foster a sense of belonging. Rather than relying on punitive discipline, restorative approaches prioritize open communication, conflict resolution, and repairing harm, resulting in improved behavior. The majority of restorative work, 80%, should be proactive, emphasizing relationship building, community circles, and social emotional learning, rather than solely reacting to conflicts and harm. Schools that implement restorative practices cultivate environments where students feel safe, respected, and engaged in their school community. The continuum of restorative practices includes community building strategies, restorative conversations, peer mediation, and formal processes like reintegration circles. These practices prioritize restoration over punishment, promoting relationships, accountability, and student growth, leading to a more inclusive and supportive learning environment. To showcase how this work is being implemented on the school campus, I've invited Assistant Principal, Mr. Hopkins, from Fernando Rivera, to share about their experiences and efforts.
While he's walking up, can I get a motion to extend this side of the agenda by 10 minutes, please?
Motion to extend by 10.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. You may continue.
All right, I was ready to do it in 1 minute and 15 seconds, but that's all right.
You only get that.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, yeah, I'm John. I'm the vice principal across the parking lot there at Fernando. Yeah, do you mind going back one slide? So we've been implementing a lot of restorative practices at our site and district-wide. So last year, as part of our LCAP goal, we noticed that there was a need to support students with and teachers with behavior and consequences and kind of alternatives to suspension and things like that. So we started a cohort last year, district-wide, of admin, teachers, counselors, campus supervisors, really anybody who's interacting with the students a lot throughout the day. So we started that last year, and then this year we expanded to 2 cohorts, and then our goal is over the next couple of years to have everybody trained in restorative practices. So one thing that we've been focusing on this year a lot are restorative conversations, which I think have really helped that suspension rate go down. So it's on more of on this side of the continuum where it's happening frequently, right? So I'm doing restorative conversations a lot with the students, the counselors are, the teachers are, and really we're focusing on like 4 essential questions when we have a restorative conversation, right? So if there's some sort of harm that's been done, whether it's a verbal altercation or some sort of interpersonal conflict, which we know happens often with middle schoolers, right? There's a lot of conflict. We meet with them and then we ask them 4 questions. What happened? What were you feeling when it happened? What do you think the other person was feeling when it happened? And what do you need moving forward, right? So we ask them those 4 questions, and then we come to some sort of agreement at the end of what we need. And sometimes, we're not going to be best friends moving forward, and that's okay. Maybe you need space, or maybe you need that person to apologize. Whatever it is that you need, we try to make it happen, and then we move forward from there. And we've seen a lot of success with that. I've seen a lot of success just through the lens of, of consequences and discipline, where we have these conversations, and the students are really pretty good afterwards in terms of like how they're feeling towards each other, and teachers have seen a lot of success with it as well. So it's those 4 questions. They're pretty simple, but they work really well. And as Pam mentioned earlier, we've seen a pretty significant decrease in our suspension rates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. All right. And so to finalize, we have much to celebrate and many opportunities for growth by leveraging real-time data to assess progress, strengthening Tier 1 instruction through targeted UDL professional development, and fostering shared accountability and collaboration. We will continue to drive meaningful improvement and ensure equitable student support for all students. Over time, our focus is to enhance school leadership and instructional practices by strengthening school site leadership teams through biannual district meetings, expanding the lesson study model across grade levels, and integrating restorative classroom practices to cultivate an even more positive and inclusive learning environment. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Scott. All right, and then we have, if we may ask clarifying questions, we will be starting from my left.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a couple comments that I really appreciated hearing the focus on, well, reading about it more so, effective statements, because I'm a proponent of confluent education where we're looking at cognitive and affective domains at the same time and hopefully working together. And I did have a question about the lesson plan study. I wasn't sure if when you described how it takes place, when do they switch roles, the teachers? Is this during the same lesson, or is it, different days, or?
I'll invite Ms. Pace up to respond to how they have utilized this in their practice.
Hi, good evening. We get substitute teachers. So with Sarah and her partner teacher, Rachel, they each had substitutes covering their classes for the day. And then they had agreed upon a lesson that they were going to teach. They went back into their classroom. So we had a substitute there, but Sarah went back into her classroom to teach the decodable text lesson. And her partner teacher, Rachel, was there watching the lesson. So Sarah taught the lesson with her own class. Her partner teacher was watching that lesson, taking notes. We have a protocol of what they're observing for. Then they both leave. The substitute teacher continues with the lesson plan for the day. They're off then debriefing, talking, making their adjustments, deciding, ooh, maybe that didn't go very well, or oh, this part, maybe we need to adjust the timing, etc. Then once they've sort of tweaked that lesson that they've developed together, then they go into the next teacher, so that would be Rachel's classroom, relieve the substitute, she's still in the room, and now this time Rachel, the teacher, is going to be teaching, and Sarah is going to be observing that same lesson in the same day's time with the tweaks of the lesson, and they go through that same process. Then they have switched roles, take notes. After the lesson, relieve the sub continues the day, and then they go off and they debrief the lesson and make any changes for that day. And then the rest of the afternoon, then they can lesson plan for the follow-up lesson. So as I'm speaking for Sarah, but as she spoke to, then she planned for the following week's lesson based off of what transpired for that day's lesson. So that's sort of how we model that. Does that answer that?
Okay, I'm glad I asked that question because that sounds really exciting. I'm a teacher, so for me it sounds exciting. But it also kind of reminds me of the co-teaching model, because if you co-teach in high school anyway, you co-teach with the same teacher a couple periods, you can see in the first period how the lesson goes, but we don't always have the time to debrief, tweak, and all that. The next period comes. So this process sounds really amazing to me. Did we invent this? Okay, so I've never heard of it, but great. Lesson plan, have you ever heard of it? Okay, well, good. And I just wanted to also say that, mentoring is something also that I really value. And it sounds like you got a real good mentoring experience from this. And, you know, get that it's good when we can model the behavior that we want to see. And I'm sure the other teacher learned some things from you as well. So thank you.
And just to also go, some teachers were from the same school. Like in Sarah and Rachel's case, they were both from Garden Village. But at some situations, they were from 2 different campuses. So partway through them, they got in their car and they drove across. One situation, we had teachers from Westlake and Woodrow working together. And so they got up and they drove and went to another campus to support each other that way. So then when we all came back together, we had teachers TK through 2nd grade come back into this space, and then we talked about how the lesson study went across those grade levels, because we were all using similar instructional routines, so we could really learn from each other from those experiences. So yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that made the presentation today. It was very thorough and eye-opening. I have 2 questions. The first one is, can you remind me how often the observations are happening and if it's consistent? Is every grade level in every class doing that, or is it specific classes and grade levels?
Are you referring to the lesson study specifically, or are you referring to the instructional support teams who are going in and observing?
Both, actually. And if you have different answers for them, then that's fine as well.
You want to speak to that? Sure.
While he's walking up here, can I get a motion to extend 5 minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Continue.
So, in a short answer is yes, all grade levels and classes are observed, and the instructional support team, after the observations, puts together a slide deck with a presentation that we go through as a full staff. So that's part of the feedback side, and we're able to see each of the practices of every single room in the school, and we ask questions and discuss and note highlights and, again, next steps. So short answer is everybody does the observation.
And lesson study was voluntary signups. Then we had 2 different cohorts of teachers who volunteered. So we had one cohort that happened October, November, and then the second round happened January, February.
Now I have another question based on that response for the lesson studies. Do we plan to expand beyond volunteer to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to improve?
I think we asked for clarifying questions.
Is that not a clarifying
Is that a
question?
clarifying question? What would you say?
I think that can be answered. Is that-
Yes, our goal is to expand the lesson study model. It actually originated in Japan in the 20th century, and it is just, I think, has the most impact on instructional practices when teachers get to observe one another and then have that built-in time to really reflect and refine the lesson based on student engagement. So right now, all of our teachers, grades 3 through 8, have gone through their second round or their third round of UDL work, where they are developing units, and they're working in collaboration to do that. So one of our goals next year is to see if they'll be brave enough. It takes a lot of trust and vulnerability to do this work, to now demonstrate the lesson that they've created together in each other's classrooms and get feedback on their lesson design. But it takes, again, it takes that trust and vulnerability piece that needs to be built through the collaborative structure.
Absolutely, thank you. And then the last question I have is actually on the panorama sample questions. I noticed in school climate, we had a very large amount in answering how fair are the rules at the school with somewhat fair. Do we know if the students understand how what a positive school climate is and how the school rules work and how it benefits? Do we know that they know the answer?
Do you want to answer that? I can answer, or
Go
you
ahead.
can. Okay. We're looking into that. Actually, our counseling team is investigating and actually asking students, how did you interpret the question? And so we do wonder if the question was, how they interpreted the question is how they answered. And so they are actually currently investigating. Did you want to add to that? Or?
No, that's good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a terrific presentation. It's great to hear how innovative that our district is in, changing some of these practices. And I really want to thank you for responding to my request for an example from our district. And it was great to hear from the teams, particularly the Woodrow Wilson folks. And I had a question for them, which is that, we heard a lot about the effects on the teachers and how the teachers responded. I wanted to know how the response response you got from the students. Could you see any change?
As far as the observation and feedback loop, or the specific UDL strategies being implemented?
I guess the UDL lessons.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is when we do the observations, part of the observation is sitting with some of the students and ask them. So for example, if we are observing learning targets, objectives, we would sit with a few students in the classroom and ask them, so what are you learning? Why are you learning it? Do you know what the lesson objective is? And for the most part, we're implementing this, and for the most part, students are able to identify the learning objectives, and it is helpful because from our perspective, students are able to identify what they're learning and why they're learning it, and they can point to it either on the board or reference it in the lesson slide deck or verbally through the teacher's instruction. I'm answering for the team, and I know you'd probably like to hear from the team. Sure, come on up so you're in the microphone. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just want to say, during the observations, it was really nice, I know for me, to have a lot of interaction with the students, not just the teacher. I didn't sit back in the back of the room and take notes, but sat down with the students in their groups or whatever they were doing, and was able to talk to them about what was going on in the lesson and really see how the strategies that the teachers are using, how effective they are. So it was kind of like eye-opening to us, how the kids are responding to the different strategies that we're focused on.
Yeah, in the first part of the presentation, we've looked at iReady scores, and I think it's sometimes difficult to make the connection between test scores and the way we're teaching. And you commented on how many years that this process takes, and certainly respect that. But it would be nice to hear more in the future about how, I guess, the concrete ways that students are differences, how they're taking in this information and the difference that it makes to them in their learning.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Scott.
All right, thank you.
And everyone else. All right, we will move on to item 9. Yes, 9A, certificate retirements. The administration recommends approval of the following retirement requests and also requests the appropriate resolution be prepared commending them for their years of service with the district. First is Jamie or Jaime Ramos, 4th grade teacher at Westlake. Thank you. I am having trouble reading tonight. Effective June 7th of 2025, Mr. Ramos Jr. has been employed by the district since August 30th of 2000. Molly McDermott is 1st grade teacher at MHT, effective June 4th, 2025. Ms. McDermott has been employed with the district since August 18th, 2014. All right, any discussion, comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve the retirements of Mr. Ramos Jr. and Miss McDermott. And I just want to commend you for your years of service.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Ramos and Ms. McDermott. All right, item 9E, USF JESD Teacher Residency Program updates. Ms. Jennifer LaRock, Program Director of Expanded Learning and Staff Resources, will share the progress of the new teacher residency program in partnership with the University of San Francisco.
I just wanted to start with a brief introduction, and we speak so much of partnerships, and we've been really pushing hard with our partners at USF to roll out this residency program that we're hoping to get started as soon as next year. So today we have some folks that are going to speak to our program. We have Shabnam Koirala Azad, who is the Dean of Students for the USF School of Education. And then she will be introducing her other partners here to speak to the new program. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I serve as the Dean of the School of Education at the University of San Francisco and have had at least one opportunity to meet many of our partners here. And we are so thrilled and excited about this opportunity with Jefferson Elementary School District. So thank you for this opportunity. I know everyone really wants to hear the updates, so I'm going to move aside and introduce my colleague, Dr. Nicole Richardson, who serves as the Director of Clinical Work and is a faculty member in our Teacher Education Department, and one of the leads on this residency program. And as you may know, the residency programs in California right now are a huge way in which the state is supporting collaboration between institutions of higher education and school districts, very much aligned with the sentiments that were expressed at the beginning of this session about supporting public education and the importance and significance of that, particularly in this moment. So, Dr. Richardson.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you all tonight. It's really exciting to move from having been awarded the capacity grant with your district to making this real. And we're awaiting the announcement of the implementation grant, and this will take off and it will launch. The residency model, I'll just say a little bit about it and then move on, is the most effective way to become a teacher. It's modeled after the medical residency, right, where you're working in the place in which you will work. You're learning alongside the strongest who are doing the work. So your strongest teachers in the district will be the mentors. And above all that, it's alongside really rich, challenging coursework at USF. One of our shining stars just presented tonight. And there are also opportunities that a lot of teachers don't have to be able to earn money while they're learning and really focus their attention on becoming the strongest teacher that they can be. My partner in this work is Sarah Capitelli, who's not here tonight, but we've been working with the district for over a year designing this, and it's been really exciting. And I already know like half the people in the room. It's really exciting that we're on our way here. And so working really with this team, with Brent and Jen, to build this, we're excited to discuss our design and where we are tonight. We're starting to admit residents just next month. So in developing this over time, I also want to just acknowledge all the great work that's happening in the district. Being here tonight, listening to the LCAP presentation, that's what residencies are about, is they are here learning alongside their mentors what this district needs locally, contextually, what teachers need to know and be able to do to serve this community. So excited to tell you more about what's happening. And I'm going to pass it to Jen LaRoque to start us off.
Good evening, everyone. Jennifer LaRoque, Director of Expanded Learning and Staff Resources. Excited to talk a little bit about our residency program. So, geographically, we live in a highly competitive job market. The teacher shortage in Daly is not just a Daly City issue, but it is a statewide and national crisis. We face ongoing challenges in aggressively recruiting teachers when we're competing with our neighboring districts. Plus, our location here in the heart of Silicon Valley intensifies the challenges as we compete with the tech giants like Meta, Google, and Adobe for professionals with a math and science background. Unlike the lucrative opportunities that these companies can offer, earning a teaching credential requires a year of unpaid coursework and student teaching, making it financially unfeasible for many college graduates and career changers. Although we are fortunate to have retained many Jefferson teachers, we must proactively plan for retirements, leave of absences, and staff relocations. 18 months ago, we received a call from the University of San Francisco, who shared trends about their enrollment in their credential programs. Recognizing our mutual challenges, we engaged in collaborative brainstorming sessions, which led to a strong partnership aimed at strengthening our teacher recruitment efforts. Jefferson and USF assembled dedicated planning teams, many of the members are here tonight, and embarked on a series of meetings, brainstorming sessions, and data analysis. USF led the drafting of the residency grant proposal, and we were awarded $250,000 of a residency planning grant. Last week, we submitted an additional grant application to ensure the long-term sustainability of our program. Our program proposal had 3 key recruitment priorities under qualified candidates. We're looking for TKK teachers, we're looking for math and science teachers, and we're looking to diversify our workforce to better reflect our student population. This slide illustrates the demographic makeup of our certificated and our classified staff in comparison to our student population. The vertical axis represents 20%, 40%, 60%, but for the life of me, I could not get that character on the page, so I will explain that to you. There is one important clarification on this slide. Our staff and student data platforms use different reporting methodologies, which slightly skew these results. For students, selecting Hispanic as an ethnicity automatically classifies them as Hispanic, even if they identify as multiracial. But for staff, those who select Hispanic ethnicity and a different racial category are categorized as 2 or more races. So upon closer examination, the pointer here? I don't know how to do the pointer, but, no, pointer. The pointer. Pretend I'm pointing at the 2 or more red bar on the right side. Yes. So the majority of the classified staff in that category are predominantly Hispanic and another race. So if you adjust that red bar from 2 or more for classified staff and you moved it over to the Hispanic Latino, that would give us a clearer representation of our workforce. When you compare our state data, Jefferson maintains relatively aligned teacher-to-student ratio. However, we recognize the need for further improvement. This data has guided our efforts to recruit from within our classified staff for our residency program. So Nicole mentioned a little bit about what residency program actually looks like. It doesn't look like a traditional student teaching model. It does mirror that of a medical doctor residency model. So a resident doctor works the same hours as the lead doctor, attends meetings, goes to professional development, and at first shadows and observes the lead doctor and slowly takes over the responsibility of the lead doctor, guiding and mentoring the resident. Eventually, the resident manages the caseload and the lead doctor provides feedback and coaching. This is exactly what we will expect our resident teachers to be doing. They will be assigned a mentor teacher and a classroom. They will report to work in early August with our teachers, and they will remain in the classroom through June. They will attend our staff meetings, our IEPs, our professional development, and they are going to learn the Jefferson curriculum, the Jefferson initiatives, our resources. They will learn about our community and our staff. We have a little video to show how we are trying to recruit for the program. Can someone press play? Do I press play? Can we pause my time? It's quick. Welcome to the Jefferson Elementary School District's Residency Program Overview. Before we get started, we would like to take a second and acknowledge your interest in becoming a teacher. We think you are making a great decision, and we are here to help. Our teacher residency has two goals. First, it's about preparing you to be a difference maker at Jefferson Elementary School District by your first day of full-time teaching. Second, it's about increasing the number of quality teachers in TK, K, math, science, and diversifying our teaching staff within the Jefferson Elementary School District. So, how do we do this? Well, we do it together. We match you with a mentor teacher and place you in one of our JESD classrooms for a one-year teaching training program to ground you in the work. As a resident teacher, you will receive a stipend. You will also be in a classroom that is aligned to your credential and master's coursework. As a member of our program, you will receive a tuition discount with the University of San Francisco. After you complete the first year of the program as a successful resident teacher, you will be offered a full-time teaching position within the district, where you will receive ongoing coaching, support, and a pay bump. From there, you will be able to finish grad school, gain your credential, and more importantly, teach. Welcome to the Teacher Residency Program at Jefferson Elementary School District. We are so glad to have you. Through this initiative, we are growing Jefferson educators, ensuring continuity and stability for our Jefferson students. Upon completing the residency, residents will commit to teaching at Jefferson for a minimum of 2 years, solidifying our investment in their professional development and our district's future. Addressing the teacher shortage requires strategic partnerships, innovative solutions, and dedicated efforts. By collaborating with USF and investing in the residency model, we are creating a sustainable pipeline of highly qualified, committed educators to support our students at Jefferson for years to come. I'm going to pass it back to Ms. Richardson to talk more about the USF side.
Can you please go to the next slide, or I guess I used the clicker. Thank you. Just really quickly, I know we're closing it on time. The program would begin this summer in July with coursework. And then in August, the second semester for students begins, and they'll be teaching all year long in the district. And then they will finish the year with their credential and be ready to be employed the following fall. And that next year, they would be working here and hopefully finishing their master's during that second year of the program. The next slide, please, I can do this. We are looking at earning up to $25,000 during your credential year. If we get our implementation grant, that stipend is guaranteed at $30,000. And then there's also a really significant tuition discount that USF has committed to this program. Just the presence of our dean here tonight, in addition to this discount, is just demonstration of our commitment to making this work really well for JESD and our students. There are possibly other additional stipends and materials that the grant might be able to cover as well. And this is what we tell. This is part of that video is like the best part of recruiting. Once people see it, they're like, yes, sign me up. But also letting folks know that some of the nuts and bolts is like Ms. LaRoque just said, after you finish the program, it is a 4-year commitment. And that is with the grant. The grant states you have a 4-year commitment to teaching in a California public school that meets certain criteria. And we're stating as a way to 4 years feels like a lot to a 22-year-old, right? So we say 2 years at JESD and let them know, and 2 years somewhere else as well. Hopefully it's 4 years here and longer. So thank you so much. And that's it.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Dean, for being here. And thank you to our amazing actors in the audience. Didn't know that we had such talent for the camera. Anyway, if we have any questions or comments, I will need a motion for more time. Otherwise, we may move to the next item.
I move that we add more time to ask a couple questions.
All right, 5 more minutes.
Second. Yeah.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Questions? And we'll start on my left.
I had 2 questions, but you answered one. I was wondering at what point do they get credentialed? And so you said after a year. Okay. And then, so my other question was, are the requirements to become a resident the same or similar to getting an internship credential? Actually, I have another question after that.
Let me answer that. They are similar in that, and I'm not completely familiar with the CTC's requirements for the intern credential, but you are pretty much intern ready when you begin in the fall semester with the coursework that and the way we've designed the program so that you have enough hours and ready to go. So it's different, and it's not designed to replicate the intern credential so that you are able to be mentored and you're able to like apprenticeship in the role.
Okay. Yeah, it sounded like that was the major difference. And it makes sense that you would be intern ready, because how could you get your credential in a year? And anyway, so and then I did have one more question about the folks who are actually applying or getting into the residency. Are these all like new teachers, or not new teachers, but I don't want to say young either, but are any of these people who are changing their careers, or, you know?
All of the above. We've put our recruitment effort all over the Bay Area. USF has done a great job promoting it on campus, and other places we've definitely promoted it inside with our classified staff, our substitution staff. All of the above. They do have to go through and apply and go through an interview process. We can only accept so many, but anyone's able to apply, and they have.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say that this is amazing. I'm so grateful that we are doing this in our district. It actually is a differentiator for us, especially in a market where it's really expensive to live, and people are afraid to actually even go into teaching because they're like, I'm not going to get paid enough, and I can't, afford the rent in this area. So I need to do something that's going to pay me money, even if that's my passion. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing to encourage young folks to explore their passions, and it's not just about the money, because that will come if you're happy with what you do. Doesn't matter what you do for work, you will never work a day in your life because you're really happy with what you do on a day-to-day basis. And so impacting students and honestly teaching for the future, I think is going to be amazing for our district. We're going to benefit, the kids are going to benefit, the teachers are going to benefit. So it's basically a domino effect for everyone. So I just wanted to say that out loud. The only question that I have is around how are we working with our PR agency on promoting this on social media, or can we get a news story about how amazing we are with doing this with USF?
They actually created the video with it. That was Miss LaRoque's voice. That was the voiceover. I don't know if you recognize that, but they did help with creating that video and getting the footage. And then they work closely with us with promoting it as well. And then also Miss LaRoque has been putting it onto LinkedIn, I believe, and we're connecting it. all our socials. Yeah, it's everywhere. We don't want to, it's the same videos, but we want to make sure that we're promoting it as many ways and many times as possible, and they're helping us with that. Yes, but they did the video.
Perfect. And if possible, is there a way to look at the level of engagement we're getting from those social posts? Because what I realize with young folks, they actually don't use LinkedIn. They may be using TikTok or, other social media. And so I want to make sure that we are engaging in places where the people we want to see it are seeing it. And this is going to sound really bad. When I think of Facebook, there's an age range I think of, and so I just want to make sure that we're putting it in the right places.
Yeah, we can get that. Well, with Instagram and Facebook, we can get those statistics. And then I believe we probably can get it off of LinkedIn. But we could also look, we don't have a TikTok account with our district. I don't think we want one, but but we can get those analytics for that. Yeah.
I concur with Trustee Jordan's comments and just really appreciate this program and the presentation. I think it's another great example of how we're really being innovative in this district, and that's tremendous. I had two questions. First, I wanted to know how many residents that we could likely expect in the first year. And I also wanted to know just kind of how common a program like this is. Is there another residency program in San Mateo County, in this California? How common is this?
Can I get a motion for 5 more minutes, please?
I don't know if we need 5 more minutes, but maybe motion for 3 more minutes?
We're doing increments of 5.
Oh, increments of 5.
Yeah.
Motion for 5. Okay. Motion for 5.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Continue. I agree with you.
Our goal this first year is 10 residents. I do know we already have more than 10 applicants, so that's exciting. Through the interview process and the paperwork filtering process, we hope to come out 10 strong candidates. There are other residency programs in California, not necessarily in San Mateo County. Nicole and I actually went to a symposium conference. Where were we? Petaluma, where residency programs that are in the current grant writing phase went and saw a residency program happening in Petaluma. We got to talk to their teachers, to their principal, and heard about all the amazing outcomes that they had. So there's definitely a network out there, but in San Mateo County, we would be the only one.
Thank you. We should highlight that. Absolutely. I think we have a growing list of things that are distinguishing features about our district in the county, in the area.
We're going to add to that.
I'd just like to add that this may not be the only one in the county, but it is one of the few that will look like this, because residencies can look a lot of ways. We have 1 or 2 residents that are sprinkled here and there. Our design is based on probably the best of the research. It's work that USF, that's what I must say myself. USF has also worked with the residency program locally before, and being embedded in the residents and the district the way that we are is very unique. Having the relationships that we have, trying to be in particular schools, and working with the sort of the curriculum and goals that you have that's specific to your district is pretty unique. But the state is growing them, so you'll see a lot more.
All right, and then I echo my fellow board member trustee sentiments. And then, so thank you JESD staff who participated. Thank you to USF for being here. We really love hearing your program. And Ms. LaRock, we look forward to hearing you in the next iOS update. All right, we move on to item 11A, land acknowledgement statement, discussion/action. The governing board will discuss adding a land acknowledgement statement to each meeting agenda. And we'll give this 10 minutes. All right, so this is discussion, so open to the floor. So I brought this to the agenda with Superintendent McCulloch just because one of the things that we experienced at our training that we had a few weeks ago now, Saturday, they presented a land acknowledgement statement, and I'm pretty sure I know San Francisco does them, and I'm pretty sure South San Francisco. Oh yeah. So and then South San Francisco does them. So here's an example of one, and we were wondering if we could look over it and discuss potentially adding this to the beginning of every board meeting. So give us 2 minutes to read it.
So I also passed them out in the audience. I thought I had a slide of it, but this was taken from South San Francisco, and I just changed to our district name as an example or a draft to work from if the board chooses to use a land acknowledgement statement. And a land acknowledgement statement I've seen in other districts, it's usually right after the Pledge of Allegiance.
Is this the right Native American identification?
Yes, so this would be in the whole San Francisco Peninsula.
Got it. Thank you. All right, just open to discussion. If not, we will also entertain a motion.
No, I would like us to have discussion. Anyone has anything to say or?
Yeah. I mean, you go first. You started.
Really? Okay. So, well, I didn't bring this, so I don't feel like I started it, but I'll continue it. So I just want to say that obviously I would support anything that acknowledges indigenous people. I have indigenous ancestry as well. However, I don't want our district to be just doing this symbolically or in any type of disrespectful way. And I think we should have more discussion about this and really figure out what are we doing, because the language in here talks about affirming sovereign rights. So how are we going to do that? You know, that's one of my questions. And then also, Ohlone is one of the tribes, but there's other indigenous people that were in the San Francisco area as well. I think we should talk about that a little bit. However, I do support, I support this, but I think we need to discuss it a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with your statements. I would say that I don't want to do something just to do it because other districts are doing it. I do think it's important to acknowledge the land that we're on and those that have come before us. I do think that we need to do research to ensure that we are, I guess, affirming all of the ancestral land, because I think what's written here may be what is known, and there may be others that we don't know of. It may be harder to get that information, but I would rather do that versus do something that's standard just because others are doing it.
I find this challenging because I am extremely sympathetic to and supportive of Native American communities and the Ramaytush Ohlone people who settled this area. But I do think that this idea, it comes at the risk of doing something that I believe is for us and does not really do anything concrete for the Ramaytush Ohlone people. And you can actually go to the Ramaytush website and it says that. It says that a land acknowledgement is for you. It is not for us. And I actually have an alternative proposal, but I just wanted to state my feeling on the matter at hand.
What's your alternative proposal?
My alternative proposal would be to invest in and try to make available a presentation from the Ramaytush Ohlone people at some point during the school year for our students and staff and the district. You know, I feel like the way that students are taught about Native Americans makes it sound like they were once here and now they're not. And granted, the settling of European settling decimated the Native American communities throughout this country, but the culture is still here. And I was fortunate enough to hear a presentation from the founders of Cafe Ohlone, which is in the East Bay. They were amazing. And not only that, we got to eat a meal that they prepared with Native American traditions in mind. And I would love to make available something where a group like that could present to our students and tell them what it's like to be, you know, from that community and just a real education opportunity. In my mind, that would do something for our students and help foster education where I do not believe this statement would.
No, and actually, just to clarify, I didn't bring this up just because other boards do it. I really want to. I thought the land acknowledgement that they brought to us during our training was something that, again, like honoring the people, but again, like you've informed us tonight that that actually may not be the best way, which is again why we brought this to discussion. We can discuss another way, which I definitely hear and actually appreciate your view on that. So again, like if that's the decision we want to make, that's up to us. So we don't have to go with this statement. We don't have to go with any statement. It might be important to do something, but again, we also don't have to do anything. So I'm open to motions or decisions or guidance of any kind.
It's really the board's decision.
I actually, oh, go ahead. I was going to say, I really like his idea. I actually want to expand upon that idea. I think that it's important for our students to be educated on where they are, and so I like the idea of bringing it to the schools, all school sites, or maybe some sort of like special assembly that we could do at the different sites at different times. But then I do think that at a board meeting, and maybe it's not a land acknowledgement, maybe it's similar, a presentation to the board about that information, and that way now the students have gotten it. Now the parents or our community can also hear it, because if the students are getting it, I'm not sure that they may go home to their families and say something, but there's a broader community that should also know and understand what's going on. I think it's an education for all versus some.
So this is exactly what I was talking about when I said I want to make sure that we do it in a respectful way. So thank you. And that was exactly what I was thinking about, Trustee Rashba, was we haven't involved the Ohlone people in this conversation, right? Unless someone in here is Ohlone, right? So that was part of what I was thinking with doing it in a respectful way, is inviting them here, not just to talk to the students, but to talk to us, right, as well. And by that extension to the public. And then as far as wordsmithing, letting them be involved in, in some of the language. But my question still stands: how will we affirm their sovereign rights? So people say this, and there's all kinds of land acknowledgments happening, but is it really doing anything? Is it symbolic? And I also want to just, I have a little time. The former superintendent of Udallers and I have talked about this before, and one thing he brought to my attention was like, well, where's the actual reparations? People give all these acknowledgments, but are we offering any land, actual land? So, but anyway, so I'm actually glad you brought this to the table, and I'm glad we're all talking about it now and people are listening and hearing this, and I would like more input from the community.
I just wanted to respond to your question. I don't know if we can affirm their sovereign rights, but I do think that we can pay respects to them by acknowledging them, by bringing them to a meeting and having them speak to us about their culture, about what they've done, their ancestors, what has happened. I think it's important that the community and again the students hear that, because that is showing that we're open to listening to them versus us creating a narrative of what we believe it should be, which reparations is a hot topic. I don't even want to go there beyond even just the Ohlone people. As an African American, there are discussions around that, right? And so I think let's focus on acknowledging and respecting them and not focusing on a statement. So I would recommend that we go back to the drawing board and have a discussion on how we can incorporate them into the conversation.
So then, do you want to speak?
I support the comments of my fellow trustees, but to me, just kind of what can we do? And we as this body do not have the authority to acknowledge their sovereignty, but I think we do have the authority to foster education within our district to the community and, to our students. So I would be very supportive of pursuing attempts to do that.
So then I guess instead of a motion, can we give guidance to the superintendent to reach out to the representatives that you were speaking about and maybe see what they can do in partnership with our district?
Sure, I'm happy to provide a referral for the presentation that I heard. They are based in the East Bay, but still in the Ohlone Nation, and yeah, maybe we can go from there.
Is that good with the rest of the board? Excellent. Thank you, Superintendent. All right, we'll move past this and no action was taken. All right, we move to item 12, governance team members, comments, reports, future agenda items, and board meeting reflection, and we will start on my right.
Great meeting, very thought-provoking discussions, presentations. Thank you to the speakers and presenters who came tonight.
Couldn't have said it better.
I'm glad we always keep the interests of our students in mind, and I'm very excited about the new residency program that we're doing, and everyone, all of us in this room and outside the room, keep up the good work.
I echo my fellow board trustees' sentiments. And again, I thank you all for the fruitful conversation we can have to really bring the best for our district and not just, as we say, do blanket things. We want to make our things intentional, which again, I appreciate all the perspectives on the board. I do have one motion I'd like to add. I motion to add an agenda item to the next meeting, restructure of the meeting agenda. I can't discuss it now, but I can add it to the agenda. So I'm motioning. Can I get a second? Unless no
Can
one
you
agrees.
say any more about what that
Well,
means?
I can. So other districts do different, like just organizing how it looks on paper. So just looking at restructuring and making it look a little bit more succinct. Basically, I think I can say it's just separating agenda items that we're actually going to talk about and consent agenda items. So
I have a question. Usually when people ask to get items on the agenda, I've never heard us say at the next meeting or not. Usually we just put it out there and then you work it out, right?
that's true. So I should say just motion for an agenda item.
I'm not sure, but I'm just bringing that up. So that would be my hesitation because we don't have more information, like Trustee Rashba was just asking. So I would be supportive of having it as a future agenda item, but we know more of what you're looking for in this restructuring.
Yeah, that's why it's agenda item, because we can't discuss it now. All right, so did I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. All right, and with that, persons wishing to address the board. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any item that is addressed in closed session. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. Ms. Covray, are there any speakers? All right, you can have all of them line up here. Thank you very much. And for everyone's information, there will be no report out after closed session. And we will take a 5-minute recess at 8:29 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, but we don't bring that.
Discuss the evaluation, but no decision was made.
Well, no, because we're not.